Well, we're good now. Here we are. Paul Trudeau for the first time on the road to rock. I'm literally currently on the road to rock in a random, beautiful Marriott hotel room here in Nashville, Tennessee, here covering the SEC tournament. I'm pulling double duty. We're doing sports and music all in one here. Paul Trudeau, musician extraordinaire. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm a little frazzled after the trying to find the Chrome thing, but I'm good.
This could be, I feel like this could be something that is a real turning point, because never shall this happen again, because I will forever put the caveat in there that maybe I just make this assumption like, well, Google Chrome just like comes on everything, right? I always think maybe it's just on every device automatically. So maybe that's what I was thinking.
Well, weirdly, I had like just done that semi-recently. Not that this is the most fascinating topic of conversation, but
right.
I did it, and I have like a newer laptop. I bought a newer MacBook and then didn't put it on because I was just running whatever Safari.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's all good. And what are you doing in Nashville? I love Nashville, by the way.
Oh my gosh, one of my favorite cities. It's the SEC college basketball tournament's going on here right now, so I'm covering that. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. We cover Mizzou athletics and stuff too. So that's kind of my day job. A lot of sports, Chiefs, Mahomes. Everybody knows that one. Didn't quite get it done this year, but yeah, Nashville. It's because it's if you're a musician these days, Paul. It's like most people have either moved to Nashville or Vegas or Austin. It seems like is that kind of the deal?
Yep, definitely. I got a lot of friends who've done that move. In fact, I just ran into a guy at a coffee shop around the corner from my house here, bass player John Billings, who lives in Nashville.
Yeah, it's pretty common. What about? Are you still out in LA these days?
I am. And here, hang on. Now I gotta try to get you back. My apologies, man, because I got a call came in, and then since I'm not familiar with this.
No, it's all good. It's all here. I see everything good, so you're good, man.
All right. I'm just trying to find. Well, this is going well. No, don't. All right. Well, I'll just go. If you're seeing me,
I gotcha.
That's cool. Yeah, I did not get the sports gene, oddly enough. So, the only team I've ever been a fan of was the Los Angeles Kings, and it was only because my roommate at the time was into it, and so he took me to a bunch of games and stuff.
I hear that story a lot from like LA musicians especially from that era, from like the Gretzky era, 80s, like early 90s. Everyone's like, I didn't really like sports, but I went to a lot of Kings games back then. Like, so it was a thing.
It was when Gretzky was skating with them, and he was sort of such an amazing skater to watch. So I'm from Boston, and so by all rights I should be a Bruins fan and Red Sox. And I literally just for whatever reason, all I ever wanted to do is play music. There's plenty of musicians that are into. I got nothing against sports or people
who
like sport. I just literally never understood the draw myself.
Yeah, well, I always say this: people that are like you, just an amazing musician. There's only so much like data in a brain, right? So when you're that good, when you're that accomplished, you're so good at what you do that your brain is so, maybe there's not enough room for all that other stuff in there. You've got such a acumen for music that.
If I've done a deep dive into it, or like reflected on a lot of my stuff, and I do know what it. And this is a weird philosophy that I have, and I don't expect anybody else to adhere to it, but. It's the same reason I don't like shows like whatever American Idol or The Voice, because there's a level of competition that I just sort of reject. And
I see.
So it kind of has, and I'm not saying that sports aren't interesting to watch, because they definitely are. But I've always kind of thought I mean, the one thing I'll say about sports that is different from music, obviously, is that in order to be the best in sports, you kind of have to be the best. There's no fooling anybody. There's no pretending that I'm a good athlete, but I'm actually not. You kind of have to have a certain level of expertise, and I do appreciate that. But then that always gets translated onto a vocal competition, and then all of a sudden, people are singing and vocalizing as if it's like they're doing a triple axel or something. I don't know. You know,
I get it.
And I've always had a problem with that. I think all music is valid, and some music hits some people and some music doesn't hit some people, and I think that's totally okay, and that's as it should be.
Well, we got to talk about your upcoming album. It just got announced the other day with a new single, but the album's not going to be out until August 1st, but it's called Lost Diamond Boy. And I want to talk about the first single, which is Three Little Things. And as I've been listening to it over and over, I think the best compliment that I can pay it is that it sounds like a song that would be on the Forrest Gump soundtrack during a point where Forrest is longing for Jenny.
Oh, cool.
It fits right in with the, I don't know, singer-songwriter era of the late 60s, early 70s.
Right.
It has a lot of, like, I don't know, Simon and Garfunkel type vibes. I know you're very influenced by, artists of that ilk, but the song itself is so layered and so meaningful, and it's taken on a lot of meaning for me and you can kind of get into this, just it seems to be a song kind of about longing, about emptiness, and trying to, recover from a loss. And that really hits home with a lot of people. It certainly hits home with me. So is that kind of what you were getting at there with the song?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll backtrack a little bit and just to let you know my process is when I'm writing a song, I actually have very little awareness of what I'm writing about generally. I'm kind of in the moment, and I'm kind of writing, and I write the lyrics, and I kind of sort them out later. And I definitely don't, like, if you break down my lyrics, a lot of them are kind of just these non sequiturs, but I like the way they sound. And if you go back to a lot of my favorite writers, Paul Simon, I know Paul McCartney did this a lot of, even, Bernie Taupin, Elton John was a huge influence on, as a piano player. And, but I get some of the friendly critiques I get from my colleagues or fellow writers, artists, that no one ever knows what my songs are about. And my response to that, without kind of trying to sound like a dick, is it's not my job to figure out what my songs are about. That's your job.
Yes.
I just kind of write them. I'm not sure where they're coming from necessarily. I will sacrifice meaning over a phrase that sounds cool every day.
Yes, I get it.
Always, I will, and I know I can be. You're in Nashville, which is the city of, like, people get together and write, which I love. I love collaborating. I've written with some great people, and it's really fun. On this album and on my last album, I'm the primary songwriter. I didn't want to have to check in with somebody else. I didn't want to have that argument about, I don't know what this line means, I just like the way it sounds, and so I want to keep it. And there's one co-write on the record, a song called Which Way to Go, which I wrote with Bernie Barlow, who's a label mate, who also has a record out, great record, a record coming out. She's on Blue Alon as well. And Dave Darling, that is the most direct song I have lyrically, and it's a great song. Like, I love it. It's super kind of Nashville type song, though, because you listen to it and it's only about one thing. You can't really interpret. I mean, there's moments that are interpretive, but in general, it's kind of a story song.
Yeah.
And I actually love the story song, but I feel like I always try to do it in a way where it can be many different stories to many different people. Again, referencing Paul Simon, he was always so brilliant at doing that. There's a song he has, and there's a demo of it that exists, and I'm trying to think of the name of the song. It's escaping me now, but it's a story song, and his demo. I mean, it's fascinating. But before this call's over, I'm gonna remember what the
Yes, it'll
song
pop
is,
in there.
because he has on Spotify. There's a demo of the song, and it's basically the same story, but with completely different lyrics, right? And
Yeah.
and I thought that was so fascinating because he literally wrote this whole song with this basic story, and then just went, well, I'm going to tell the story a different way. Now, I don't know that I'm capable of doing that. I tend to not go in and try to rewrite my stuff. I have learned, and again, I respect everybody's process. Or everybody's got a different process. For myself, if I work something too hard, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And that's kind of how I tend to try to stick with the very first thing I come up with. Tends to be my favorite. And it's not out of laziness. It's just, I'm telling you, I've proven to myself, if I get too in my head about it, it just gets worse and worse. I don't know why.
Well, the song is awesome. The vocals, and of course with the wonderful flamenco acoustic guitar that you hear from our mutual friend Steve Stevens, who's been on the show multiple times.
Oh, cool.
Bandmate and Billy Idol. Steve is a great friend of the show here, and I just love that there was a collaboration there. And just what was it like, kind of having Steve do that? Because I mean, when it comes to that flamenco guitar style, it's only when I think of the term flamenco, I only think of Steve Stevens. That's all I know about that guitar style, is because he's done it so prolifically over the years.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to get to work with Steve on a, nightly, or I'm playing with Idol for like 11 years now.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you like my quick story about Stevens when I first came on board. Like, you get a gig like this and you focus on your part. I'm like, okay, I got to go in knowing what I'm doing. So I'm learning my part. And the first rehearsal, and we start playing through stuff. And obviously I was super familiar. I mean, I'd already met with Steve a bunch of times, so I was familiar with, but we're rehearsing and he's playing, and I kind of like had this weird epiphany, and I just went, holy crap, that's Steve Stevens. And he's, freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't anticipated how incredible it would be playing music with him. Right. And then once I was in that mode, I was like, wow. And so that happens I'm like, there's multiple nightly reminders of his genius, just, because obviously we're all playing the songs and they go the way they go, but he's always throwing this stuff. It really is. It's just nothing short of amazing. It's one of my favorite things. My favorite things about touring is that 1.5 hours of, I've got in-ear monitors. My mix always sounds amazing. And it's really incredible. I mean, not to get too cheesy about the whole thing, but it really is. It's kind of like an out-of-body experience. So yeah, having him come and lend his talents to my record, it was amazing.
Oh, it's so good. And having seen Billy Idol being one of my favorite artists of all time, like somebody that I can really point to is like, I'm 41, but like growing up, I was like a sponge when I was little. So anything I would see on MTV, and I just sing like Rebel Yell, it was Cradle of Love, probably the first video that I saw that.
Oh, wow.
And I remember like actually like being, I was 5 or 6 when that came out. It was like Rebel Yell was before I was born, but just that look, everything
that's
about
insane,
it.
But
right, yeah, exactly. But it resonated, and it's like I don't know, like what I would have a musical identity. I'm 5 or 6 years old, but like that kind of set me off on a course. Now it's been a couple years since I've seen you guys live. It was a couple years ago in Kansas City at the Uptown Theater. What an amazing show! And just you guys are actually on tour here this summer with Joan Jett.
Yeah,
and the Blackhearts. What an arena tour all this summer in May. It starts in April and then goes on into May, and then August picks up again. Yeah. What a tour that's going to be! I got to think that everyone's really pumped up for this one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. The last major thing we did was we we did a month up in Canada. We did arenas up in Canada. Did a month. I guess that would have been October, maybe.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. Yeah, doing an arena tour with this band is like it's there's something about arena tours that's really cool. Like there's this moment when the lights go down, and well, yeah, no, we're really excited about it. We did. I mean, Joan and the Blackhearts joined us on a couple of gigs. I'm trying to think where I know we did a couple of festivals with them, one in particular, and it was really, yeah, they were really great. It was amazing.
So when you're putting together your solo efforts and to be able to flex your muscle, outside of a big touring act like Billy Idol, what's it like dealing with Billy? Is he someone that's supportive, of these kind of solo projects that you do?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, he's always super supportive. Yeah, he's great. He's always we do our like after show sort of bow. He'll always be like pushing it. Yeah, no, he's super supportive. Yeah, he's an amazing boss for sure.
That really helps. We had Phil X from Bon Jovi on last week, and he talked about how he has a solo project coming out as well, and talked about just how important it is to when you're playing in a big act like that, and you're a cog in this giant machine, and then to be able to do your own thing, and then to have the support of and John Bon Jovi in his case, right. Billy Idol in that's an amazing thing to have. And as it gets, we obviously have quite a while until the whole album is released. So I've only had the pleasure of hearing the single so far, Three Little Things. So talk about kind of the process. You talked about your songwriting process on that song, and just kind of what people can expect from the rest of the album here when it hits on August 1st.
Well, Blue Lawn is basically like a blues Americana record, and I've been kind of in Blue Lawn's orbit for the last 10 years, playing with different artists. I played on a bunch of a bunch of other Blue Lawn records over the years, and I mean, my record kind of operates in that it's Americana. And I actually had this, you had this discussion a lot with my producer, Camilla Darling, about, do all my songs kind of go together? And Camilla's main point was that, yeah, my voice is kind of a through line, but it's definitely like, it's some of it gets super country. I was saying this in another interview I did the other day, that like my country influence comes from like the Stones and the Beatles. So, like, you know what I mean? It was like when the Beatles did a country song, or when the Stones did a country song, and they did country songs. Like Sweet Virginia is a country song that they kind of played with that a lot, and so that's sort of what when I'm going country, because it's certainly not country, and I don't even know what country really means anymore. I think it means something different, and in conjunction with that, Americana is very come to mean a lot of different things. So yeah, there's some stuff that's there's one song I wrote like 25, 30 songs, and we picked like 13 to do, and I had expected we would drop a couple, but we ended up putting all 13 on, and one of them was almost like alternative rock song. So it definitely there's a variance on there.
It's almost funny, as the older I get, the more of a fan I become of artists. I go back into the 60s and 70s and really delve in. Like, as when I'm younger, it's like I just I love visual bands. I loved Kiss and Motley Crue and Wasp, and I'm just into all this whole thing. And to go back and to hear this music, and I think your music kind of falls under this category, and it just like it hits differently. I think the older you get, and the more life experience you have. I don't know what it is, but I find myself really being able to delve in songs that tell stories and that make me feel things and think. I think that's great, and I think that this for you is a good natural progression for you, because it's been how long ago was your last solo album?
2017, and I was just
So
going to
yeah,
talk about that. Yes, a record called Shirley Road that's
yeah,
available on Spotify. There's also a record, it's kind of an obscure record, but didn't mean to. I had a band called Radio Jones that is also on Spotify.
yeah.
And if anybody wants to go like check out that stuff, when I look back on songs I've written, you could look at this one of two ways. Either I haven't grown at all as an artist or a writer, or I've basically been doing the same thing. When I look back on songs I wrote 20 years ago, like they still hold up to me. It's still, I wasn't like trying out, like I've basically been kind of writing the same type of songs for as long as I've been writing. I mean, when I first landed in LA, I think I experimented with certain genres that maybe weren't quite appropriate for my voice, but pretty right away I figured out, oh, okay, well, this is what I do. This is what I like to sing. These are the kind of songs I like to write. And if you were to listen to, Shirley Rose 2017, this Radio Jones, that was like 2006, somewhere around there.
20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and it's it occupies the same space basically. So I'm not sure my point. Again, like I said, I'm either I'm not growing as an artist, or I mean, the truth is, it really is more about that's how I like to write, and I just keep doing that.
I have an appreciation for that. I don't, I always use AC/DC as the example of that. Do we really need AC/DC to do something different than what they've done for 50 years? The answer is no. And, speaking of someone that has done that, and I think that we have obviously want to mention the new Billy Idol coming out here, Dream Into It, April 25th.
Right.
The single and the video, Still Dancing. I'm talking like, I absolutely love that. And I think that it's an indicative of what you guys have been able to do as a band, as an entity, and thinking about how Billy encapsulates. There's very few artists to me that still encapsulate and can do what they did in the 1980s, and that you bring in new fans. The old fans are still with it. There's very few artists of that like that left, and for you guys to be able to still be releasing new music as a band, and Billy as an artist, that says a lot about what his fan base kind of wants, likes, and demands from what you guys do. So this is a lot of anticipation for this upcoming release.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And again, when you're walking around, I'm sure you experience whatever in a grocery store, and like Rebel Yell will come. I mean, and like everything about that, so everything about early Billy Idol still holds up. So like some music doesn't age well for some reason. You know what I mean? I don't know why.
Sure.
Like, you'll hear some stuff from different eras, and you're like, oh, yeah, we thought that was cool then, but Billy Idol stuff sounds, his old stuff sounds super modern to me, and so he's just kind of continuing to do, what he does so well. There, I mean, some bands do, like, I know Sting did a thing, obviously, from the Police, and he kind of did this real shift. It's like, different bands and artists do it differently. Probably the most extreme example of that, in my opinion, is Radiohead. The metamorphosis,
sure,
where that they have done is incredible, to the point where they kind of have two completely separate fan bases.
Yeah.
Like, and I talk about that. My son, a 21-year-old son who plays bass in my band with me,
right?
He's doing stuff all on his own. He's about to jump into a record with Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes, and so he's doing his own thing. So yeah, there's like. I mean, early at the beginning of this conversation, you were talking about people moving out of LA and national. LA is an amazing place. I'll give a little quick. It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
There's an incredible scene. I can't really say that I've been paying attention to the scene my whole life. I have, I became a dad 20 years ago and stuff, and so it's not like I've been plugged into the scene where I could really pay attention to whether it's going on or not. But there's an amazing amount of talent. There's like this LA art kid scene, and I know Chris Robinson's been plugging into that. He's nurturing a lot of stuff. It's really, really cool. A couple other bands I'll plug will be Billy Tibbles. That was something Chris produced. Dagger Polyester has a record coming out. There's just incredible stuff. I had another point I was I was on the way to making, but I veered off. Yeah, just I have these discussions with my son about Radiohead and the
Oh
shift
yeah,
of what they did. That's where I was starting.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like I've experimented with stuff. Again, I've just proven over and over. I just need to write what's true to me. And whenever I sort of try to get too clever, like you can tell, I've got songs I've written in I'll hear some band, I'll be like, oh, I want to write something in that vein. And it might be cool, but there's an authenticity that doesn't exist with it. So I just try to keep coming back to that, to what's my authentic self, for lack of a better phrase,
Well, it's certainly there and it exists, and I'm so glad and excited for you, and hope for nothing but success with the release of the new album. It's not gonna be until August 1st, but in the meantime, we have this tremendous single here, Three Little Things, out now on Spotify, out there, wherever you get your music. Well, do you anticipate another single or two before the release?
Oh, yeah. The plan is, we're doing a total of 4. So there'll be another one coming out. I want to say, I guess it's somewhat dependent on what happens with this one, but we've got like, how Blue Lawn wanted to do it. Just, we kind of got like 4 stacked up basically. And Perfect. I'm really excited. I mean, it's a little frustrating. August 1st feels so far away, but I recorded this in October, so I'm at this point, I'm not really in any rush, but I'm very excited for people to hear this music, and
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's something I've listened to several times since getting the single, and I can't wish you more success, Paul. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to see. I'll see out there one of those Billy Idol dates. I'll be out there for one of them. I gotta mark one down here and get out there. So can't wait to see the show, and best of success, man, on the upcoming album, man. It's been great. I appreciate your time today.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry about all the kerfuffle of my dog and the chrome. But thank you very much for having me on.
You bet, Paul. Take care, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.